In the animation industry, I've come to a sad conclusion that I wished wasn't true. There are heroes and then there are villains. There's a huge problem at Cartoon Network, a problem that seems to be getting worse and worse as the years go by. We all know about the Rick and Morty problem. Co-creator Justin Roiland was let go from the show because he's abusive and he doesn't know how to keep his hands off of women. This is a person I admire a lot because he's the voice of Lemon Grab from Adventure Time. Lemon Grab is like one of the top 3 characters in that entire show. Justin Roiland's pretty chilled. Well, that's what I thought. This dude voiced innocent old Oscar in Fishhooks. Little did I know that at the time of this show's release, there was another sinister predator lurking in broad daylight at Disney Studios. His malicious actions would only be uncovered years later at Cartoon Network. More on that later. It's pretty strange that Justin's friend and colleague Dan Harmon also had his own allegation scandal from several years ago be brought to the forefront. It's kinda odd that he had to put out a statement saying he feels bad about what Justin did, yet he himself has had some skeletons come out of the closet in 2018. So for those of you who are unaware of the drama, the series that brought Harmon notoriety was the show Community. A popular actor that emerged from that show is Donald Glover. Somehow all these people are connected because Donald was the VA for Marshall Lee in Adventure Time, meaning he ran into Roiland every once in a while. But that's besides the point. A writer from the show I just mentioned named Megan came out and talked about how Dan tried every now and again to lay his hands on her and without her consent, and when she denied him, he became synonymous to a pit bull. The dude became very vicious. He apologized on his podcast and she ended up forgiving him, but the damage was done. She accepted it and everyone moved on, but this seems to be a trend with people in a field that primarily targets a child demographic. That wasn't the end of Harmon's controversies. When the floodgates are open regarding exposing, trust me, they make sure to go deep in the archives and find relics to haunt you with. Up next was the baby doll incident. So in 2009 he made a skit and in it he was depicting himself doing something to a baby. I can't say what it was here on YouTube for obvious reasons, just know it rhymes with grape. That's on the Adult Swim section, which still applies since that's a block that runs on Cartoon Network. It's not that surprising that these are the allegations regarding the creators of Rick and Morty. I know people say you have to separate the art from the artist, but when you think about it, there are some episodes in the series that make you wonder why the writers found that to be interesting. For example, the fact that Morty has an incest baby. Some things are rather questionable. Anyways, let's dial back the hands of time. Clarence was a popular show that probably could have ended up being really great, except for the fact that its creator, just like Justin Roiland, doesn't know how to keep his hands to himself. The creator Skylar Page, who was the voice of Clarence in its first season, turned out to be abusive and a complete sociopath. Long story short, he was constantly putting his hands on women without their consent at the workplace. This ended up being associated with the show. When most people remember Clarence, they always associated to the drama behind the scenes. Skylar has since apologized and said he was on a power trip from 2012 to 2015, but the damage has already been done. But I didn't really like it when they changed the voice of Clarence. Skylar used to be the VA, but Cartoon Network can't be linked with an aggressor, so they fired him. The next case is the inverse to the previous one to some extent. One of the most popular creators at the network was assaulted in their early 20s. You don't often see her in public, but you hear her voice at the beginning of every Steven's Universe episode. Rebecca Sugar opened up about how she was assaulted once, but luckily she managed to escape and live to tell the tale. More recently, there's been drama with the creator Carozza. The dude has been known to be a not so nice person. People say he's an asshole to be around, but what's worse is that now he's facing prison time because he was caught with a whole hard drive on his laptop called homework. And by homework, I mean terabytes of footage involving minors doing adult things without their clothes on. Yeah, it's pretty disturbing. I hate to be that guy that judges a book by its cover, but looking at him, he definitely matches the stereotypical basement dweller description. You'd expect a guy like this to be charged with something such as the one being discussed. The thing is that you wouldn't think he's married, but the sad thing is that he is. It's kinda a mindfuck to think someone would even want him to touch their nether regions, but to each their own, I guess. It's funny how he's known Justin Roiland since 2012, since they both worked together during the days of Fishhooks. He's the monster I mentioned earlier. According to the police report, he'll be serving 1 to 5 years in state prison because in California, if you get caught with 12 videos of minors or at least 600 images, you're cooked. At the time of me making this video, Kyle is 45 years old. I remember seeing clips of his show back in the day and something rubbed me the wrong way. I just found it to be odd. I didn't even know until doing research for this video that he's the creator of this show. All of this is sad to think about because the longer you let it sit with you, the more you realize that some of the people who may have made your childhood may be absolute creeps. When I was watching some of the hit shows at Nickelodeon at the time when I was a kid, I had no idea that Dan Foot Fetish Schneider was a monster. Even though the dude made so many classics like iCarly and Victorious, it doesn't take away from the fact that he's a horrible person. Why people over the age of 18 refuse to leave minors alone or stop harassing grown women, I'll never know. Plus all these dudes are rather successful and have money. Like if you're that much of a fiend for touching other people, just take a round trip to the Netherlands and go to the red light district. It's not that hard.
The Big Dipper.